Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is Sunday. What is this, November 17th? It's Shooter, Scott Henderson. Of course, at the end of our presentation, please review our disclosures. Of course, we're going to go over swing trade notes. A couple things I see. Let's jump right in. Actually, last week was a very disappointing week. We nailed four. It gave us a nice return, and then I got clobbered on DQ as well as Microsoft. Thankfully, I didn't have large position sizes because even though it's showing $3.48 a contract on there, I actually made about 5.5. I didn't adjust down for the position size on those. And then we're holding Nvidia, which we're taking a little heat on those right at the moment, but I've been averaging in pretty much all week. And we're at about two position sizes there from a full size. We're still holding our full size on TLT. Honestly, I might take a hit on that the way it's looking because we might break down below 90. AST Space Global was disappointing, so I'm just going to hold them. I have February 2025. Hopefully something happens between now and then at this point. So that's the thought of last week. Okay, earnings this week. Nvidia is Thursday after the close. I may change Walmart, John Deere, even Ross Stores likely, because I like a couple of those. I think we do pretty well coming out first of the week. Now, I'm also going to be watching a few crypto names, Bit Digital, because I want to see follow through, how much breadth is there and how they're benefiting from a 90K Bitcoin. That's sort of my thought. Williams Sonoma, maybe. However, I don't like their options, but that doesn't mean I don't take it if we are in the right situation for the week. Now, basically, continuation to breakout is Nvidia still in play for me, so I'll go through that in a second. Affirm, SubX, and Southwest Airlines. And then the 150% back candidate I have is Uber this week. Now, looking at Affirm, nice looking chart. And I can't tell you why I wasn't in it down here. I just didn't get alerted on it. By the way, you guys see a chart that looks promising based on either my golden box or my 50% backs. Point it out to me because, honestly, the process that I go through does not see everything, just simply because I can't put an alert on every chart. The systems won't allow me to do it. So anything you to help me get there would be fantastic. So Affirm, I like this. We have no resistance here. We had a little prior resistance around 58 bucks, but it pretty much was invalidated by this gap. So our off number really comes in about 79.62. I see no reason we don't get it. The question is, how do we hold it that long? Because it might go beyond February. So right now, I'm being very conservative, targeting a January $60 call. We're at 56 bucks, so about $3.5 higher. And then February $70 calls. They really don't have a lot of breakdown and other strikes that are in there that are viable taking. But this is one that likes to move. It is I would classify it as a FOMO stock. And when it starts getting a bid here, notice how we have these four generals here that just moved to the upside. Obviously, it gave it back, but that's not the case. So I'm thinking we get another general and possibly a third one. So I'm hoping that gets us up past that 100%, 150% fib at 77.01 is sort of my thought. And then I'm like, well, why shouldn't it break out? Well, there's no reason it shouldn't. So I would think that if we're going to give anything back and we do get that breakout, going into this above that, 178.6 fib would be the most likely place for it to reject. So if the FOMO gets behind this, and realize we're going to continue to see that rotation in and out of name, as the profit dwindles in some of these names that are quite elevated. So truthfully, Affirm is a perfect name to catch the upside. All right, now let's go back over Nvidia. Basically, same concept as last week. Okay, still looking at the 150 fib into earnings. I think we get up. Now, worst case scenario, maybe we get 50% of that at 155. So now, obviously, those of you who either got stopped out of last week's entry, which I should have, but I kept it open, excuse me. I canceled because I wanted to hold into earnings. That's all there is to it. Now, you could do the 150 November 20th. It's after the close as far as earnings, so you're not going to hold into earnings. The idea is just to capture the upside. And then if you want to roll a piece into the following week's call, to hold through earnings, that's really going to be your call, not necessarily mine. I'm undecided. I've regretted many of my trades with Nvidia. I have not done as well as I would like to admit with earnings this quarter. Been a little challenging. I probably was too selective. However, if I blanketly bought everything that caught my attention, I would have won on about 75% of those because I do track that a little bit looking back. So I guess a lot of it is in our own execution of what we see. And, I think we have a lot of upside here. I'm thinking we still could go 60% on this from where we are to the upside. It really just depends on how well this book of business builds out on these new chips for artificial intelligence, and then how much the restrictions will really hit us on China limitations. But again, Trump might wind those down a little bit, so we'll have to see how that plays out. All right, now Uber, 50% back candidate. I've been watching this and watching this gap down. I'd like to have more of a euphoric candle here, but we definitely have found our floor, in my opinion. Sort of a double bottom in RSI. This second drive, even though it wasn't on the bear side, it was a bullish case. Quite often, this is where we have our drive one. This is where we had our confirmed low, right? And we had no divergence there. We came right out of that. First candle, then a gap. I would love to have seen something like this, but still to the upside. Waymo has been getting a little bad news, with cars driving the wrong direction, aka. So I think they have 200 of those on the road in New York. So I think that's one reason we didn't get as much of a push. I think this is a robo-taxi play still. It would really be smart, in my opinion, if Musk bought Uber or Lyft, or both of them, and rolled in the robo-taxi, because the book there would just be huge. He could put 5 million cars on the road like that just because of their valuation and revenues coming. Or creating some kind of partnership with them would make a lot of sense to me here. But that's just my 2 cents. So we're looking for about $78 for 50% back. We're at about 73, so about $5 higher. January 77.50 calls, or you can go out to the March 82.50. It really depends on the price. Whenever you see me two-step on this, it generally means I really didn't like the premium I was paying. It was pushing my envelope. I like to stay in a box because then, I always think of equality when I structure trades. I want to have so much risk on the table. That way, if I'm wrong, I lose a set amount of money. So I've capped my loss. And I really spend a lot of thought on that to stay in a certain box. And thus far, it's worked. So no reason for me to change. And the reason I went out to March is because I got a better price on the 82.50s than I did like a February 80. It wasn't that much of a move. All right. So let's look at Starbucks. And I was watching this down here. I can't tell you again, just like Affirm, why I didn't know it down here. I just can't. Don't remember. I think I blew a trade on. Didn't hit my number or something. Maybe it was here. Been quite a little ways back, I think. But we're looking for our swing target, basically just for a breakout of this B. This is a primary wave forward that looks like it's put in very bullish looking, very aggressive. The trajectory is much more aggressive. And part of the reason is I think the retail consumers took a break, and we now have the winter season coming in for the hot drink. And this is typically when the volume increases. And that pumpkin spice that they have at Starbucks really drives the traffic in the door because a lot of the ladies like it. So, that may be what we're seeing here, why that, aggressive push to the upside. And I'm expecting continuation. So I see no reason we don't break out above 126 at The question is, do we ride it or get some kind of back test between here and the 78.6, which is the challenging part. So I'm staying tight. I'm going to say the January 105 calls are generous. And here again, it was based on premium. I didn't want to pay for the 102s, 102.5. For the 100s, the 105s are a little further up than I would like as far as an entry, but then push out to February, or you could do March 110 calls is sort of the thought. Our stop, risk $4. You'll start seeing me. I'm going to start adding this. So my mindset looking at the trade, what am I willing to lose if I'm wrong? Right? In this scenario with Starbucks, I'm willing to lose $4. So that's the risk that I want to put on. And let me just backtrack to Uber. My risk on Uber was $3, and that's because of the breadth of the candle, the thought there. All right. So let's look at Southwest Airlines. Now, man, I looked at the I never look at the airline. I looked at them it was maybe yesterday afternoon, and I said, shoot, those ran on Trump. That was a Trump pump. On the thesis that he's going to reduce regulation, and reduce the fuel requirement. So Southwest had the better looking chart because it hadn't run. Mergers and acquisitions has been an issue in the airline industry, and I'm not really up to speed on that. So if there's something there and somebody knows about that with Southwest, point it out. But I did not look at the micro macro here. I basically am just looking for $3 or $4 here to the upside. I'm willing to risk $2 on this trade, looking for January $35 calls and really run them to about a week or 2 weeks within expiration is the thought, because I do think we get above this 34.58, maybe the 35.18, where we break out resistance here. Reason is because that's a pretty solid rejection off of what was our prior breakout for that final, that push to all-time highs, 39.53. I don't know that we get that. However, if we get some additional positive news, Trump plans on taking some kind of an executive order or announces it's on their list of executive orders on opening day. Honestly, that's sort of my thought, because I think that's one of the first things that he does is address regulation on current businesses like the airline, as an example. And if that's the case and he announces that, we could be up $5 or $10 on this pretty quick. So I sort of am positioning ourselves for that. That's my thought. And that's what we have for this week, folks. Great trading until next time.